Yeah, there we go.
So, um, I just finished watching this Bill Maher doing like an interview with what's his name? Who's gonna be the Attorney General? What's it?
Not
Matt Gaetz.
yeah, Gates. Yeah, so
Yep. And he was doing an interview with him, and honestly, I was kind of like, it's like, I don't mind him. Like, he's I can see how people think he's annoying, and like there can be some issues there. But I was like, all in all, like I think I kind of came you know, out of that like better than I thought I would be. But were you the one who was saying like he was so annoying or whatever in
oh,
person?
I don't. Yeah, yeah. Dude, I think Gates
Yeah.
is annoying.
So why is that though?
I don't know. I mean, he was one of my picks. I was like, I thought it was like interesting, but I was like, I don't know if Trump will go that way fully. But I can't prove it. Just a man.
What do you think he's gonna do now?
Hold on one sec. Sorry, I switched over to my computer here. Like, what do I think Gates is gonna do now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know, man, dude.
So
You,
what's been going on in Tennessee?
dude, school choice, man. We got through all the committees yesterday. We vote on the floor tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
First thing on the schedule.
It's gonna pass probably.
Huh? I think
You think
so.
it's gonna pass? Yeah. So what all did you specifically do on it?
Like, what did I do, or like what did the company do?
Both.
We advocated a lot. I had a part-time team that was knocking doors for it to, help show awareness and things, and then we endorsed a few candidates out in West and Middle Tennessee that won. Our East Tennessee candidates did lose because it's a little bit more rural up here, so they're not as for school choice as like others should be. But we put the right candidates in place. They won. They got on the education committees, and I mean it's that they're ready to go. I mean we got it through House. Dude, honestly though, I love going to I miss going to like committee meetings because like dude, like when they went to the House and Senate, dude, like I got to watch like two women get like thrown out from like the Democrat side, dude. That was really cool. But goes through, went through House. It took 2 hours to get it through House committee, Education committee. It took 30 minutes for it to get through um, GovOps and Finance. It was nothing at all. But yeah, I mean, Senate Finance and Wealth Management came across today. They got it voted through and passed. Now we just it goes to the floor tomorrow.
So where does what's his name? What's the governor's name? It's not Haggerty. It's
Billy,
Bill Lee. That's right. What's he stand on it?
he's the one that wanted it. It's his proposed
So
bill.
he's a school choice guy.
Yeah, like he's trying to champion. That's his legacy. Like his last term in office is
Okay, I didn't know that. So what's the reason why rural schools don't want school choice or communities?
because they are the largest employer in their county is the public school, and they think it's taking money away from it. And I disagree with that. I think that's some horse shit. If in your county that your largest employer is your public school system, that's bullshit. You have a chamber of commerce. Industry is around. Put it in there. That's their job.
So
Um,
you're saying they're lying about the numbers,
about what numbers?
about the employment numbers.
No, I think they're being a buck. I think like in like especially in like Johnson County or like Greene County, like where I'm from, um, our largest employer is our county school system, like our public school system here. And like that's fine. Like I believe that, but it's like we have a chamber of commerce. I think we should be bringing, industry goes around, dude. Like, you know,
So I mean, are you kind of saying like they're like lazy and
yes.
how they're trying to grow economically?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
I think the one thing that I never understood was, you know, I can maybe see the public school, private school thing. But I guess the way that I look at it is, I was like, okay, at the end of the day, like you still have the same number of kids that need school, right? Like I feel like that's when we start talking about, okay, well, how do we design the school choice program? Like, okay, you can go to any school in your county. Like, okay, like that makes sense because county taxes, it all ends up kind of going into the same pot. So it's like, okay, you're gonna pay, you should probably pay the same thing or the same amount.
Yeah,
And so like that's one thing I was like, it's like I never understood because then it's like the cost per student probably won't change much, so you'll be fine.
yeah,
Um, but I just didn't understand it. I was like, it's like, okay, like what's the big deal? Like, like just do it on the county level and then let people decide where they want to send their kids.
right.
Um,
Trump also endorsed it. Like
yeah,
on Twitter, man, like he endorsed Tennessee school choice. That was a big deal, man. But dude, I always am like, you can just look around a room and like know what is right and wrong to vote for. I mean, like I said, like
yeah,
I'm looking around, I'm like, dude, like the Democrats, and like, no offense to them at all, they put an 18-year-old kid that had no work experience, and in there's nothing wrong with it, but like in this scenario, I don't think I would have put a gay man that is 18 a
is
year.
he a representative?
No, he was just testifying. He was just a regular because like you can do testimony. It's parliamentary procedure in committee. So like like from like the Republican side, like you put up your people that are testifying why school choice is good, and then on the other side or whoever doesn't agree with it, you put up
Mm.
testimony of why this is bad. And they literally put up an 18-year-old gay man that had no work experience prior to testify, and I was like, nothing wrong with that, but I'm like, this isn't probably the route I would have gone, or the
Not the yeah, it's not the look.
and I wouldn't have gone for that in the state that we're in. Like in
Yeah.
Tennessee, I wouldn't do that. Um, but they did. Uh,
Mm.
he did claim to have they asked about his work experience, and he claimed to have done data analytics. Which, by the way, let me preface this by saying I've done data analytics. That is a very hard job. It's tough, especially for a
Yeah.
party. He claimed to have done data analytics for the Democratic Party since he was 10 years old.
Well, honestly, dude, I believe it, and I know exactly probably what
He's
he
like,
was
I
saying.
believe
He
it.
probably volunteered for some bullshit county position and was knocking doors, being like one of those like super kids, like in Parker Short and some of these other guys are just like that, where they've been in politics ever since they were like fucking 10. And someone probably gave him a spreadsheet and said keep track of who comes to the meetings, and now they call themselves a data analyst. It's like okay, fuckhead, like let's be real here. You're not doing any of that kind of stuff.
You were
We
volunteer.
pay people to do that
Yeah,
stuff,
dude, yeah, like
okay?
a very good chunk of cash, dude. Like I've done data analytics. I did data. I didn't even get to do data analytics until like a year and a half ago. Like, dude, I've been the kid, the fuckhead that was out there knocking doors and like, I still do a little bit of it, but it's like, come on, bro, like, put me up with some people that know what we're talking about here. Dude, it was funny too, like, cause he was up there and he was talking about he's like livable, like he was trying to tell us like what a livable wage was and stuff, and then I hated it for the kid. Like I felt sorry for him because I'm like, you're putting him up against these Republicans that are voting for this. Like they're gonna tear this kid alive. Like
Yeah.
just his yeah. Because like they had three Democrats on the committee. The rest were all Republicans. Like it passed 17-7.
Well, and I'm telling you, dude,
And
the what they
the
did,
Republic,
what they did is they picked some kid who they want to get up there and
yeah,
like going against the school, getting them going political, like some kid they're trying to really boost up to get these younger people involved, and they're just willing to fucking just sell it. They're like, look, we're gonna fucking lose this thing regardless. Let's try to build up some support for this guy who's gonna do whatever we tell him to do.
maybe,
You know,
dude,
I
maybe.
mean that's what it is, and that's what I'm saying. Like I fucking listen to this bitch. Um, she's
Yes,
here in
bitch.
Atlanta. She's there's a fucking long story there that we're not gonna get into here. Um, and I was sitting there and I didn't want to be social. And I was like, hey, let's like meet up and hang out and just like kind of like basically build a relationship if you want to call it that because she was in Voters of Tomorrow and I was too. And so I was like, okay, like we'll be in some of these bullshit organizations. We ended up being in that and like college Democrats and all this other kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I see her all the time in this stuff. Let me reach out to her and see like what she volunteers at and everything like that. And so, dude, I went and was like talking to her once. That bitch was absolutely fucking crazy. And I
Oh
was
God.
and like she had a podcast and like she was like doing all this coffee shit, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, oh my God, like these are the people we're like boosting up within the party, you know? And then now she's like interning for one of the senators and shit, and I'm just like, I'm like, we're gonna fucking lose every fucking race if this is the guy who's like trying to, you know, get the party going. Because she just was like just like an idiot, and I'm just like, what the fuck are we doing? So
Oh, dude, it was. I mean, like this kid, he was trying to sit there and tell us like what a livable wage was and stuff, and then like two of the Republicans, because it's parliamentary procedure. He'd be like, "Okay, thank you, Mister whatever his name was," and he goes, "Representative, whatever, your turn." He was like, "Hey, you said that." You're talking about like a livable wage, he said, but if we've learned anything over the past 5 years, maybe we'll get to a point where eggs aren't $13 for a carton. And I was like, damn, bro. I was like, why do we? And then he got
oh
up there and he
sorry.
was like, look, he was sitting there and he like, they get to the kid and the kid was trying to, he got a little hostile. He's like, why are you talking to me like I'm a child? And like, we're all looking like, because you are one, bro. And like, like, it's because you are.
I mean, so uh I saw there's an executive order that Trump was going to pass. It was something basically nationalizing school choice. Is that something that is actually going to happen?
Expand it on a federal level.
Do what?
He's going to expand it on a federal level.
So like, what does that mean? Yeah, just talk about it for a little.
So the way like Trump's is big on school choice, but I think he's wanting to do it to where it's like standardized, like giving back to the states, but like it's a standard thing. Like you have it, it's just you have to figure out your pieces to it in each state. If that kind of makes sense. I can answer more like
Yeah,
specific
so I
questions.
guess I get. I mean, basically, it just sounds like he's just like we're going to standardize how we're going to give this money to all the states instead of doing it on a federal level. It's almost like Medicaid.
Yeah, no, you're right. It's just yeah, he's just expanding it. Because it's been something he's been kind of pushing for a little bit. And I really don't know where like I understand the Democrats. I don't understand where the Republicans got like a bad taste in their mouth. Especially recently. Because it's I mean it's on the Republican Party platform. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you did delve
Probably the
dive much.
rural. It's probably the rural communities like you're
Yeah, I
talking
mean
about.
it really is, but I guess I kind of want your opinion because like I can sit here and I can go over like all my stuff, but like I've never like I don't know if you've dived into school choice. Like you can talk about it from a Trump standpoint or a
Yeah, I
state.
mean, so we've talked about this. I'm very much like I so there's I think I forget is somebody talking about this today. Maybe it was uh oh that's actually an interesting story. So I think it was Chuck Todd was talking about this. And funny enough, dude, I actually saw him at the Hilton in Columbia when Abby and I went to Columbia, South Carolina, and I saw him in there, and uh, he made this case where he was like, more Democrats need to talk about school choice because he's like, you can't tell me that the school system's good. So you got to talk about some way to fix like the school system. It means like school
No,
choice
for
is one
sure.
way to do that, you know. And I was sitting there and I was like, that's probably like the perfect argument for that. Like, hey, like if you're like if you're gonna if we all agree that education's bad, and Republicans are saying we need more choice to make it more competitive, blah 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 blah, then I think Democrats should have a compelling reason why that shouldn't be the case, or why they should do something. And most
Yeah,
of the time, I feel like everyone's going to agree we should do something. And I feel like school choice is one of those, where it's like the current state that we're at is not great, and that's the only other alternative that I see right now. Now, I think it'd be good, but I think it need to be on a much more limited scale. Like I said, countywide, like school choice thing. But
how would you kind of go about it countywide?
I mean, so you pay property taxes, and that goes. You got a portion that goes to the
See,
county, so it'll be the
now that
same
part
thing.
I agree with is if like your property tax thing, if that was kind of how they did it, I is that where
Well,
you're
but
kind
see, but here's the thing: is if I'm gonna say if you're gonna do a educational program or whatever it is, I'm sorry, if you're gonna do a school choice program, then I believe you should equally have cities being able to have their own school district.
I agree. I agree fully.
So,
Fully.
that's a big thing here in whatever it's called, down in Georgia, where the state legislature has to approve a city school district. Now, I think that shouldn't be the case. I think that should be on the local level. Like for example, I live in Sandy Springs, and I'm in the countywide school choice thing. So I think cities should be able to do it if you're going to have it, and then school choice should be on the county level, so you can go to any county school that you want to go to, and I would say any charter or magnet.
I agree.
Um, that's the limitations, okay? And but I'm kind of like looking at it and like you and I are agreeing on this. It's like okay, like that seems very common sense about how you would do it, and for me I'm like okay, great. Now I will say if you're gonna do county schools or city schools or whatever it is, and you're gonna have the magnet programs, you have to um, provide equal opportunity to get to that school and apply to that school and everything like that. So
I
I'm
agree.
I'm not necessarily a whole quota kind of guy, but I think you have to have a certain number of slots, maybe for certain people. Not really sure how to do it. That just needs to be handled on some other level. But
Sure.
I think like for example, the big thing it was here in Atlanta, Fulton County. They've got Alpharetta. They got all those communities in North Atlanta, and apparently they didn't want or they wanted to build a STEM academy or whatever that's supposed to be hot shit. Like it's supposed to be like really good. And so
I'll say
naturally, where
full.
did they put it? They put it in North Fulton, and it takes about an hour and a half to go from North Fulton down to South Fulton. So it takes a while to get there. But naturally, all they put it in the wealthier school district or the wealthier parts of the county and stuff like that. Like I've got problems with that. Like logistically and tactically, how do you implement that policy? I've got issues with. But I think as a whole, yeah, like I don't think people are going to be malicious about it, but I think you just got to make sure that people aren't taking advantage of it. But I'm like, okay, like have a well-regulated, school choice program and you're good. Now, and I'm curious to see what you say about this. Do you think you think you should give those funds to private schools?
Like what?
So like if does school choice apply to private schools?
Yeah.
See, I disagree. I don't think it should. I think if you're going to do
So,
it, you shouldn't do private schools. But I want to
so
hear what you have to say why it should.
I think it should be universal. So like my thing is I think it should like hold on 1 second. Um like I think it should be universal where there's no strings attached. Um it's available, to everybody if they want to use it. And it's just a true ESA. Like for me it's like, I don't like it's like for me it's like I think the parents should be able to be like, hey, my kid I either don't want him to go there or if he's struggling here, I want to move it. I don't care if they want to go private, if they want to go public. I don't think it should be limited. I think it should just be like, you know, the money should follow the parent and be like, hey, we are making the best decision for our kids' education.
So,
Uh,
but here's where I would say is if a parent feels that way, then if enough of them happen or occur, then you could create a special school for that group. Like I feel like there's a need that you could fill there, and I don't necessarily know if okay we can now send them to private schools the way to do it.
yeah,
I guess like when I just think about the whole private school thing, or anytime you've got public funds, I don't like it when the public fund goes into the hands of the private institution, whatever it may be. And I feel like if we're going to be giving money to private schools, then we get a say in something about the school or how they use the money or how they increase their costs, whatever it may be. Then I feel like that's like we kind of get that ability, and I feel like that kind of defeats the whole point of a private school. So like for me, that's why I'm just not a big fan. I think you got to have them separate. Do a separate church and state kind of thing.
yeah, no, I agree. Um, but no, I mean, I think it should be universal. I'm with it. Like I'll be honest, like and this is just my opinion now. I've seen how the world. Like my kid will go private. Like I'm gonna go private school.
Why?
I don't like education in public schools right now, dude. Dude, like I watched Greene County schools where I'm from in the Bible Belt of Tennessee. One of the schools put a litter box in the bathroom for kids that identified as cats because they had two. And then a girl got expelled because she came to
So
school the next.
Maryville wasn't that bad.
So with us, a girl and a boy got expelled the next day because they came to school with water bottles because these two students identified as cats. So they brought water bottles to spray them, and I'm like, what's wrong with it?
So, like I said, dude, we did not do that in Maryville. We never had that issue. Uh, but you know, for me, man, it's about. I told Abby this. So I told her I was like, we probably want to live in more rural, exurban parts of town. You know, for Knoxville, it might be like a Blount County, Knox County kind of thing. Um, and we kind of were like, we would love to send our kid to a public school that's good. You know, you get Farragut, you've got Bearden,
So I'll give
Maryville.
you that. I'll give you that. Like a
So
good
for
public.
me, I'm like, look, we will put ourselves in a position to where we are going to send our kids to a good public school. But, and I told her this, I said, depending on how far away we are, you know, if we're up in, you know, we're out towards what, East Knox or something like that, and we're way out there, and it's like there's not really any good schools, or you know, maybe we're not in Knox County, maybe we're in Loudoun County. You know, it's like okay, schools aren't as great.
Please don't ever live in Loudoun County.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like okay, like schools aren't that great, and it's like
No,
okay,
dude.
maybe we
The
should send our
gangs,
kid
the
to
gangs at the
private
Redskins,
school.
man.
You know, and so like that's when we're like okay, maybe we would do a Webb or a CAK or a Catholic or whatever. Or honestly, what I would probably rather do even still, pay tuition to send our kid to a public school, like a good public school like Farragut or
That's what
whatever.
I would do in that situation. Because I mean, I like a good public school. Like we have them up here. I mean, like like Greenville was good,
Yeah,
and like Science Hill's okay.
Knox. Abby and I talk about this all the time. Knox County's got good public schools,
No,
like the Knox County area.
yeah, no, like I said, like there's great public schools. Like I'm not saying that.
Yeah,
My
yeah,
thing is just like if I'm able to if I'm able to make it happen, like I would prefer. I mean, and that's if I have kids. That dude, hell, I gotta get married first, and struggling on that side of things.
yeah. Tell me about it, dude.
Yeah, I'm struggling on that side of things right now. I can't even get to part one to get to the.
So big cities, and you know, I like I said, I Knoxville. Even though we're talking about how good, like there are some good, really good public schools. You know, you look out towards Austin East, Fulton, like that kind of area. You know, they're not really great schools. Um, and so that's why I'm like, yeah, if those parents want to send their kid somewhere, or a bus will pick them up, or whatever it is to do it, I'm all for it, man. I'm all for that shit. You know, especially in the inner cities. You're out there in fucking Memphis. Like, god damn, I don't want to be going to these shitty schools. You know, you want to actually send your kid to like a good school. And I think there should at least be some in the county. Um, if not, then yeah, you know, I'd prefer to pay tuition um to go to a public school. Like I mean, I were probably like, yeah, like if we go live out in Blount County, we're probably gonna have to pay to send our kid to Maryville, you know, because there's not gonna be any better school kind of nearby. Um, but so if you were to design a school choice program, can you use those dollars to go out of county? So like let's say you're Hardin Valley, whatever it is, and you want to send your kid to somewhere in Anderson County. Can you do that?
Like publicly or like private.
Uh, with yeah, like a
Like if
public
I was
school.
like if I was designing it.
Yeah,
Yeah, that'd be okay to me. That'd be okay. I mean, I think at the end of the day, if
so
you're
how,
talking,
how how do you do that though? Like how do you implement that?
I think I think it has to get. So you'd have to get the money from a tax, like it'd have to be a tax credit. Which is how I would have done it originally. It's like if you like, it's like hey, you pay so much money anyway out of your taxes that go to public education. So like,
Yeah,
if
but
we're
that's
giving,
on the county level.
but like if we give that money back to you, and you're like, oh, I can like take this and
So then that sounds like to me that you're not going to administer education anymore on the county level. You're going to administer it on the state level.
Yeah.
And so what that sounds to me is it's like, okay, so then how do you handle school boards?
Like, what do you mean? How would you handle school boards?
School boards are by county, right?
Yeah.
So if
Well,
you
there's city
don't,
school
if you
boards
can,
too.
if your money can go wherever,
City and county school boards.
okay. So let's use
'Cause you don't have Knoxville
cities
City.
might be a little different, but let's just use counties. So
Okay.
it's like, okay, so now you don't have a county school board anymore because your dollars can go to other school boards. So you don't like, what's the point of doing that?
Well, I mean, you still need them because you're talking less than a. Because like I think we're also looking at it from an extremist standpoint, where it's like people are like, oh, like all these kids are gonna dump out. Like, no, no. Like you're talking about like kids that are in a very, very specific or very, very like concerning situation, which is a low number. Like this isn't gonna be like 500 kids are gonna leave Bearden tomorrow, to go to Lakeway Christian or to go to Knox Catholic. It's like you're talking maybe like less than 10 kids, from each school. So my thing is, and besides, like, that's where I'm at. I don't think it would affect school boards having to not be a thing anymore. Like they're still going to be a thing. Like they'll still have to do their jobs. Um, because like, if it went to an extreme level, maybe, but I just don't see this being that extreme of a thing. Like I don't see everybody because like, we're also talking like if you put the credit number like $7,000, like that's not going to cover most private school tuition. So like it's like not everybody could like make that work.
Yeah. So I guess so, but then like, do you put caps on the schools? Like how many people can go to that school?
Ooh, that's a good question. You think it'd be a good idea?
I feel like you have to, dude.
That's
Because
actually pretty.
here's the way that I would look at it though. Is if you cap the schools and then people have to send their kids to other schools, you know, you're almost kind of creating a tiered education system. And so I don't know if that would really work.
Sure.
Um, and then also I'd say like, okay, like what if everyone said, we want to go, we want to, everyone's like, hey, let's send our kid to Maryville. And so then Maryville's got this huge enrollment increase. Like you said, like, maybe it's 10, 20 people from each school. Okay, well, there's maybe 10, 20 schools in Blount County, or there's maybe 5 or 6 schools in Blount County. So let's just say it's about 200 kids. So now you got 200 kids moving over to Maryville. Like that's probably going to be a pretty good sized increase in, how big of a school you need to have to educate those kids. And so then the thing is that then the next year, Maryville could lose all 200 of those kids again. So I feel like it kind of makes the whole planning of like a school kind of different. And honestly, I mean, and I'm not saying it's impossible. God forbid, we need to rethink how we do education,
Sure.
and how we structure it. Um, I think what you will see is you'll probably see a lot of modular classes. I think you won't have a school be a big footprint. It'll kind of start being a little bit more fragmented. And I
Okay.
think you're going to get a lot of those, those like double wide homes or whatever that they convert to, those school officers. You're probably just gonna have a bunch of those.
Went to school almost.
Yeah, I mean, or not. I mean,
Yeah.
the school, the classrooms and shit like that. I mean, we've all been in those. I mean, that's what you're gonna end up having is, they're just gonna be like,
Creating
hey, like we're gonna bulldoze all this and we're gonna have these schools, and then people come up, people leave, they get to go do whatever they want to do. I mean, that's how you got to do it. And like I said, like that's not a bad thing. I think for me, sometimes though, when I think about this, do you think it's better to go to a big school or a small school? Because Greenville's about the size of Maryville, right? I mean, there's probably how many kids in the high school?
Oh, dude, we were 4A, y'all were 6A.
But how many kids were in your graduating class?
An aircraft just crashed in the Potomac River.
An aircraft just crashed in the Potomac River.
60-person
Hold on one
small
second.
plane, and a helicopter apparently hit it and caused it to crash into the Potomac. And y'all might want to.
Wait, a small plane hit a helicopter?
Yeah.
So apparently a
The
small plane
helicopter
just
hit
hit a
a small
helicopter
plane.
and something fell into the Potomac River.
Big news right now. It's all over the wire services.
All right. Andrew thinks, dude, you're wearing a bomber jacket. This is fitting. This is like not
Dude, I'm
even-
wearing a fucking Snuggie.
this is wait,
What
what?
is this? Yeah, dude, I'm wearing a Snuggie. My sister got me
No,
this.
no, I was just praying I hadn't heard you.
Don't judge me.
You're not wearing a Snuggie, bro. Wait, didn't your sister go to like Alabama?
Yeah, so she's got one that's got Alabama on it.
How do you live with yourself? I mean, I'm
Well,
judging-
it's not this one. That's
I'm
why
judging
she's like, I'll get you another one. And
Why did she go to Alabama?
she wanted to get out of Tennessee.
Can't blame her there. I love Tennessee, but I definitely could use like a little bit of a break.
Let's see. Yeah.
But what were we talking about? We were like in mid thought. You were asking me something, and then
How are you gonna how are you gonna operate like how do you operate a school system like that?
are you talking on like the small like like you said like the 10-person school like homeschool things that they were putting?
Yeah, like how do you do you think homeschooling is gonna increase or decrease?
I think homeschooling would. Yeah. Oh, I don't know. Homeschooling's weird to me, man. Like it's one of those things. Like I feel like private would get more of it because like homeschooling's like a whole. It's a whole thing. Um, I've never been into homeschooling though. That's not in my arsenal
Hey
of.
guys, did you know some drivers are ditching?
I'm pulling up the cast of the accident. So I guess like for me with homeschooling, I never understood, and honestly, I thought it's probably one of the worst things a parent could do for their kid. Like if you want to send your kid to a private school, send them to a private school. You want to send your kid to a public school, like okay, that's cool too. But it's like, oh, we want to homeschool our kid. It's like, okay, like you don't trust the education system. The only ones I get is when they're like, hey, like he's sick and he can't go into school or whatever it is. I get that. But like people who are like, no, we just don't trust the educational system to teach our kid. I'd be like, what the fuck are we talking about here? Like I feel like that's a little too extreme, you know?
That is a little extreme. I got you. Understand.
One last thing I was going to ask you about the ESAs. How soon do you think they would implement it?
June.
Okay. That'd be interesting. Do you guys have any data on what was the first state to do it?
The first state to do what?
Educational savings accounts.
Florida, wasn't it? I
I
think
don't know.
DeSantis the original like. I think DeSantis like the original champion.
Oh, you think so?
Just crazy.
So how has it helped that state?
I don't know. I haven't really looked into much states because education is one of those things like, um, it's one of those things where like I care about it a lot and like I think it's a good thing, but it's not my best like topic. Like I'm not like the most well versed on it. I know that I do believe in like universal school choice because I do believe that parents should be able to choose, and they can as of right now. Like, I understand the arguments. I just don't agree with like it's very very surface level. But I don't like public school teachers that are just a little scared that competition's a thing.
Yeah, I mean I get that too. That's why like for me, dude,
That's-
I'm like this is
that's my thing.
stupid.
Like it's like, oh, you're taking money away from like public schools and like teachers. And I'm just like, ah, like yeah, that's
Like we said, like the money's going to the same place.
same. It's and I'll relate it to Colin. It's like same scenario. Like
Yeah.
shouldn't have a monopoly. Like,
Well, and I'm like okay, if I think some Democrats do. Last thing we'll say, I think I've definitely have seen some Democrats do this, where they'll talk about how more expensive school choice will make school, especially with private schools being kind of bound in there. I can understand that. Like hey, like if that's an argument
Yeah,
you're gonna
I
make,
get
like
that.
make the argument.
I get that.
But now at the same time though, is like you could make the argument that maybe having more smaller modular classes with more choice actually will decrease the cost. So it's like, okay, you got a little bit on both ends here. But I do appreciate when like Democrats will be like, hey, like, this we've got these issues on both sides. Yeah, so this is interesting, the whole American Airlines regional jet thing. It's wild.
You understand?
Oh, here's one question that I want to ask you. Two things, actually. Do you think there'll be another assassination attempt on Donald Trump?
Oh God, yeah.
Like
Yeah.
another serious one?
Um, that I don't know. I think there will be one, but I mean I don't know. It's a I feel like if they were going to do it, I feel like the inauguration would have been like the time to like.
Well, but I mean, I guess I think about like, okay, like what's stopping a guy from getting on a plane and crashing into the White House? You know what I mean? Like what's really stopping someone from doing that? And that's what it makes me think, be like, yeah, like someone's gonna probably try to get him. Like I would not be surprised if this was like a credible threat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I just don't know. Like I'm surprised you think. So you're saying that you think it will happen?
I think one will happen. I just don't know if it'll be like super serious or like.
Oh yeah. Well, um, the last thing I wanted to say is, um, do you think completely different topic? Do you think only like girls who do like I don't want to say girls who do OnlyFans, but that OnlyFans is such a big thing in modern culture now that it has been it's been negative for society. Do you think that?
Like OnlyFans has been negative for society.
Yeah.
Yes. I
How?
mean, yeah. Here's me. At the end of the day, if that's your thing, if like sex work is like your thing, I mean, OnlyFans, I'll give them that. Like they're at least bringing the bag back to you. Like you're like you are collecting your bag, instead of like having to do contracts and like producers and all that crap. But like, I don't know, man. Dude, I'm not
Oh,
trying to
so
say
what
like,
do you think about prostitution?
uh,
Because I mean,
dude,
I guess the way that I look at this is honestly like it's honestly one of the debates I have in my head
bring the Christian.
is
We need to have some Christian conservatives on here, dude.
well,
Like,
but I mean seriously, like I sit here and I think about it and I'm like, well, I don't know if I really want like I don't know if we should really have that in society. Like that's a negative thing for society.
I
And
think it
being
is too.
like okay, like how did like and that's why progressive conservative like hey, like let's go back to a little bit time when we're a little more ethical,
I
you know.
I personally do. I would rather have it ethical because, like, here's me, like, and I've said this, like, one thing I've always prided myself on is like not prioritizing like that stuff because I think
Mhm.
when you start desensitizing people to sex, like some people's minds are pretty strong. There are that like, and I would consider myself this that can like handle just like not letting it like become like this like priority in your life thing. It's like you
So
kind of like you're still
Mike
good.
Pence is your guy then. He wouldn't be left in a room with another woman who wasn't his wife. Like I mean the man was like, don't tempt me. The man knew his limitations.
Right. Right. And like that's like here's me. I'm also like a realist too. Like I'm not like weird about it. I just don't like there's a difference in like being weird about it and then like just like keeping it to yourself and just handling your own stuff, like just figuring out your life.
Hmm.
Um but I mean when you start putting anything that's if we want to get real like Christian with it, I mean like I think you start putting anything that's below God, like to be God or above God, that's where you start losing a lot of that's where a lot of problems kind of arise.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah,
So
no, I
what?
agree.
So do you think it's kind of the same deal with like what's it called gambling?
I mean, I'll be honest. I'm guilty of sports gambling online. I mean, like, I love some sports
But
gambling.
what about like poker and stuff?
So I'll be
Like
honest.
so some I've heard some people advocate, and I think I honestly share this position. I don't think you should be able to do online gambling. I
Like
think
you're
you should have to go in person.
like in person, like if you're sports betting to like a bookie, um,
Or no, you got a casino. You just go down there and you know, hey, I want whatever. Like I think you have to I think it has to be a manual process. Like, you know, you want weed? Okay, you got to go down to the marijuana store to get it. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
like you
Like
can't
you
just
got to
like.
go there and do it.
No, I get that.
Um but even with weed, you know, I'm all for it, but I'm like, you know, if you're and I mean, I'll get high and I'll go out in public too. But I'm like, if you're just sloppy or, you know, and drinking too, like if you're just out there sloppy and you're causing a scene or whatever it is, like you can be arrested for it. I personally don't think you should have your like a marijuana vape out in public. You know, like okay, like you know, we'll allow people to drink and smoke and do stuff like that, but like you can't be kind of getting out crazy out in public. You know,
I
like
agree.
I think about like mushrooms and acid, right? I'm kind of like you know I'm starting to kind of come a little bit more towards you know if people want to do it, let them do it. You know, but have a very regulated system to do it.
Sure, yeah, I agree completely.
Um, you know, like, hey, you want to get some coke? It's like, okay, like the government's got 100% pure cocaine, and you can do it, and you're only going to be given X amount, or you can only do it
Okay,
here at certain places. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you SAEs at ETSU know all about that.
they do, but not me.
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
We do, not me. Um,
man, rules
but
for
but
me, not for
but you
me.
know like seriously, but it's like hey, like if that's something that like people want to do, like okay, you know, I'm all for like, you know, even with weed to an extent, like okay, after 23 or 25, like yeah, you can do it. You
Agreed.
know.
Yeah,
Like I'm
saying,
more willing
okay,
to like, hey, let's
would
push
you
back the date people are allowed to
would
do this
you
stuff.
want like an age, like a single age for everything, or do you think it's like 18, 21? Like we could.
I think you gotta make it tiered. And here's the thing, I think you gotta give people stuff. You
So
gotta give people stuff to like do.
hear it for me how you would do it. Like if you were to tier, from driving, like start with driving, and then work your way up. Because like that's something I'm always interested in. Is like if you would tier it or one age.
I think that oh so you're gonna get me going here now.
Exactly.
I think so I think that driving should be 16, but you can start driving at 14 and 15, and you have to have a more like the driving test has to be more serious, and I think that the hours you log, like you're supposed to be logging when you're 15 as like a what's it called, like a permit, is it permit? Um, you know, like that stuff's got to be tightly monitored. Like I honestly think like, hey, if you're gonna get on the road for 500 miles or whatever it is, you know, that kind of shit, then like you're gonna fucking do it. You know, like none of this. You know, you do 4 right hand turns, and that's your driving test. Like actually do a driving test.
So like my
Um,
driving test, which I'm glad you said that, dude. Like I do think I agree with you because me and my best friend have talked about that before, and he's like, dude, he said we've really got to have it because it is like that. Like your permit test, like the permit test is obviously infinitely harder because it's like it's on like the computer. I don't know about what y'all did in Knoxville, but like when I took my permit test in Greenville, dude, it was just like they give it to you on the computer. I passed it on the
yep.
try, but it's like you take the computer test, but like as far as like the driving test, like you said, yeah, you go out and you make like
Yeah,
4 left turns, dude, and
there
it's
you go.
NASCAR, dude.
But
From your
like
like,
you know, some states they're like you gotta learn you gotta know how to parallel park.
right.
You know, some of them are, you know, you got to know, like, you know, they'll maybe you actually get on the highway, you know, all that kind of stuff. And so I'm all for that stuff. Like, I'm all like, hey, like, I honestly think, I think you should have to do that same test every 10 years. Like, I think, like, when you go to get your license renewed,
I agree because like if
you need to actually redo the license, you need
yeah,
to do the driver's test.
yeah, because there's an age when if you get too old and you can't do it, it's like you
Yeah.
should not be driving either.
Yeah.
I actually agree with that.
So I'd say, you know, that's like a 16, you know, that'd be 16, 26, so on and so forth. Um, and then I would say, you know, 18, I think you should be able to kind of do. Let's see. I could be persuaded to do nicotine, like tobacco, marijuana, alcohol. Well, I could be persuaded to do tobacco at 18. Like if we were gonna make a deal and you're like, hey, like I'm gonna do that, I'd be like, okay, like we can do that.
You wouldn't do alcohol at 18?
No.
Why?
Dude, like here's the reason why. And I think I can kind of speak from experience just a little bit. Like I was lucky enough to where we did it right before. I don't think every 18-year-old has had a drink. And so I
No.
think you would have a lot of people who don't know how to handle alcohol starting to drink when they're 18 and most likely in college and out of the house, whatever it may be. So I think that that's like a concern with alcohol. But like honestly, sometimes I'm like, well, I just make everything 21, weed, alcohol, cigarettes, everything like that, you gotta be 21,
Mhm.
um like the minimum is 21, but then I'm like, okay, people are gonna do it anyway, so it's like what, why are you making these dumb rules, like people are gonna smoke if they want to smoke, they're gonna want to drink if they want to drink. I mean, it, or you're in a fraternity and someone's 21 and they can go get it for everybody, like, just kind of dumb bullshit like that. So part of me, dude, that's why I'm like, fuck it, just make it 18. Like 18, you're an adult, do whatever the fuck you want to do.
For a long time, I was like, bro, I was like, we should honestly, I'm like, I was like, bro, like I would standardize. I'd be like everything 18. I'm talking everything. That's what I thought for the longest time. Um, I mean, obviously I get driving at 16. But like you said, I do think we need harder driver's tests for sure.
Uh-huh.
And I don't know, do you okay, so now this is a little on the extremist side. Do you think there should be a test for people to vote?
No. And I have, for philosophical reasons. I do now. I think I think we should have more educated voters. I
I agree.
think that we should incorporate education and politics and stuff like that into our like
So
K through 12 education.
to give my like because I'm with you. I don't, but then I get like the rare case, and like I'm still on your side. I still don't think there should be a test to vote. I do think we should have more educated voters for sure. But then I get like that rare human being that proves to me that maybe we should have a test for people to vote.
Well, I know, and
Like
I
I
mean, you
was
get
in
some of these people who, I mean,
I was in high school as a kid, and I'm not going to say names because I don't want people to be dickhead. But like, dude, we had a civics and government class, right?
mhm.
And me and my best friend both we got the like the whatever the medal is for like having like the best average in that class because it's stuff I enjoy. But like you know how like I don't know if y'all had this in Maryville, but like they made us take the civics test in civics class. Like you took like and it's easy, right? It's like the Star Spangled Banner, the first like four lines, and then like what's like the first like sentence of the Pledge of Allegiance and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Crap, dude. We had a kid that failed it, and we're 18 years old. This is senior year of high school. Like failed it.
I mean, and,
Failed
and
the
and I
civics.
get that. I get it. But then you start talking about like almost like eugenic level shit. Like, okay, like, you're obviously not intelligent enough to vote, so you don't
Yeah,
get a
I'm not saying he should
vote.
take a test to vote. It also kind of bothered me about our education system. I was like, did we fail?
Well, and that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm like we want to talk about fixing this bitch. Let's fucking talk about fixing this bitch.
You're older than me, so maybe did you growing up? Was it like when y'all did y'all do like the pledge in school where it was like you stopped everything?
I think we did in Texas, but I don't think we did in Tennessee.
You
I
didn't
think the
text?
only thing I remember, yeah. So like, I mean, I was born in Texas. I was there till I was 13. I
Oh
remember,
shit,
I
that's
think
smart.
doing the pledge. I believe I remember doing the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh man, what
Um,
part of Texas are we talking?
Northeast Texas.
Oh, never mind. Sorry,
Um, Texarkana.
I like Texarkana.
So, like for me, I'm just kind of like we did that in Texas, and like
Did you go to
I
Texas?
never do what.
Did you go to Texas middle school or did you get a? Because I don't know if they had it. Because I know they have like Texas and like Arkansas high schools
It
there.
was yeah. So I went to a Texas. I went to a Texas school, and I basically went all the way up through. I think it was like kindergarten, and then it was like the first
Dude,
2
man,
years of
we
middle
can
school.
get into that. Dude, Texas is it's my second favorite state. I love it to death.
Oh, I love it too.
I love
Um,
I love working down there, man. Dude, I love that fucking state.
yeah.
But yeah, dude. But no, yeah. So up here, all the way through elementary school and everything, we did the pledge. And then when I got to middle school, I think it was my 8th grade year, was the first year that like it became optional. Like, so like what we did was we used to have news, right? So like you'd have like a news team. It was like a class you could take, right? And on that news team, they put the news on every time at the same day. And the news,
So that was high school for us.
yeah, yeah. So we had it in high school too. But on the news, they did the pledge and then like a moment of silence, right? Like if you wanted to pray or whatever. So if you had a teacher in middle school or high school that's like in like because it was always the same time every day. So like it was like second period. It's like if you're in second period and your teacher's like, we are not like we're like I'm too busy, we're not doing the news today, you weren't doing the pledge or the moment of silence at all. Like that, like it was just like, no, like I love my course. Like we had the best course teacher in the state of Tennessee, but like when it came to the news, she was like, no, like we're busy studying music and shit. Like we're not doing the pledge. And I'm just like, really? Like I'm like, really? This feels a little, you know.
So we were the same way, but we only had it in high school. But we would do the intercom every day, and we even in Tennessee we would do the moment of silence. You know, but dude, I could be wrong, but I felt like in Texas we did do like a moment of prayer or something like that. Like it was a moment of prayer, it wasn't a moment of silence. Um, I remember, I think that was like kindergarten or first grade. It might have been second. I don't remember which class it was, but I remember that was like a thing. It might have been. Damn it, I'll think about it. But yeah, I mean, I remember that was the thing. It was like, yeah, you know, it was like it was. I didn't know till later that it was a big deal, going from like a moment of prayer to like a moment of silence.
Yeah, so I remember the moment of silence, but it was still like a thing. Like it was like for us, like when I was in elementary school, like it was regulated. It was like they go on the intercom and it's like, they'd give us the morning announcements and they're like, all right, stand up, we're doing the pledge. On the morning announcement, like there was no optional news where like you went on the news like for high school or like middle school. It's like we didn't have this optional crap where it's like, oh, teacher doesn't feel like doing it today. It was like you did it. And then it became this optional thing. And I'm like, okay, this feels a little out of it, you know, like what the fuck am I doing?
So do you think that you should have to do the Pledge of Allegiance?
I mean, personally, I do. I mean, I'm like, it was just like, it was something that was it was a routine. Like we did like I said, elementary school, middle school, like we did the Pledge of Allegiance in a moment of silence. And then they got rid of it. It was like, hey, we're just gonna like the news was a thing. And it was just like, okay, if you don't feel like doing it, you know, we're not gonna do it. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing?
Here's what I always thought about the Pledge of Allegiance, and I never understood it. I think people should do it. But I'm just kind of like anyone who throws up I don't want to do it, you know. And it's like, okay, like what's the reason? Like what beef do you have with doing the Pledge of Allegiance? You know, and I'm like that shit's just fucking stupid. And I know
Yeah,
they'll be like, well, I don't pledge my allegiance to, a nation that supports genocide in Gaza. And it's like, okay, like, like, come on, fuckhead. Like,
no, and
now you're making it political.
yeah, see,
And
yeah, like,
that's the shit that for
I
me
don't,
where I'm like, it's just like there shouldn't be anything wrong with being like, hey, I
right.
pledge allegiance to the
Well,
flag, blah blah blah
yeah,
blah.
well, like that's like and here's me like I don't think all the teachers were being political, but I think some teachers were genuinely being like, oh, well, I'm busy, we're not doing that. But still, it's like we're sending a weird message there because like I even watched like a Democratic representative yesterday in the immigrant actually that was today in the immigrant committee today and in Nashville, he was like, oh, after we like because they just voted, it's like, hey, if a member votes against this like immigration policy, it's going to be a felony. And so like he was like, oh, you see that flag up there? Like we do the Pledge of Allegiance, we should just take that down. I'm like, even they understand we're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. So like, this isn't political anymore. It's like, okay, we're
Yeah.
just, Democrats and Republicans both do it. So it's like, okay. So for me,
Yeah.
it's like why are we being political about it? I don't know.
Well, and it's like, okay, like, and people be like, I reserve my. It's basically like, it's my silent protest or whatever it is, like I don't, I'm protesting this, and you got the right to protest, and I'm like, okay, like I get it, but like I said, like how is this negatively affecting you? And at the same time, I'm like, okay, like let's go back to what made America great. What made America great is that we get to do that. Like you get to do that, and like, I mean, I don't want to say I'm gonna pledge my allegiance, but like, you know, I show my appreciation. And honestly, like, okay, like if you got to pledge your allegiance to somebody, who would you rather do it to? And I think everybody would say the United States. It's like what makes us great is like, yeah, we get to change our mind, we get to do better, we get to change our government, we get to do these kinds of things. And it's like, okay, so like you want to be some pisshead and to just protest. It's like really, it's like the people who burn the American flag. It's like really? Like I'm not, I don't know if I don't want to
Move,
say it's illegal, but it's like really,
move
like what the
somewhere else
fuck,
then.
dude? Like why you
Move,
gotta do that?
like move somewhere else then.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, fuckhead. Like
If
if you
you
don't,
want
if
to do
you
that,
if you
move
got this
somewhere else.
issue, let me know how much money you need, and we'll get you out of here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, like it's like move somewhere else, move to a different country if it means that much to you.
Yeah.
These celebrities could do it, and since you clearly like
Oh, dude, and they're the
want to go that
fucking
route,
worst. They're the worst. They've
oh,
got the money to do it, and they basically could. They just have to change their fucking mailing address. And it's like, oh, they've already got a house in Canada and the United
yeah,
States or Mexico or wherever it is. And it's
just
like, oh
change
yeah,
the
for them, they just have to say I'm now living in. I think fucking Shakira did that. She was like in Spain and the United States, and she just moved her residence from Spain to the United States. It's like really, yeah, that must be fucking nice to move it fucking 13 time zones, and it's just like, yeah, like I mean, rich people get to do that shit, and it's just like it's just not right. It's not penalizing them. So I don't want to do it today, but something I do want to bring up. So we in the last time we talked, we had talked about doing an AI. Or I mean, we talked a little bit about AI and everything like that. I almost kind of want to go back to that and kind of ponder that a little bit more.
fucking love
Um,
AI, man.
do it.
I love AI.
Well, and just kind of like what that future kind of looks like.
Mhm.
Because I think there's so many ways we could talk about it, and like I was
Dude,
thinking about
I
ways
mean,
like
I want
militarily, like that's one example.
I
Like
want to
like
have Austin on here one day, and I want to do AI in space.
well, I mean, yeah, dude. Like for me, it's like
Like,
AI and war. Like let's talk about like do we like I one thing I that kind of kept me up the other day is we are still building the F-35s and uh Matt Gates was talking about this. We're building the F-35s at $100 million a piece. And Russia just showed us that fighter jets are obsolete and drones are modern warfare. You know what I
mhm.
mean? And it's like, and how many, like, I almost want to be like, how many fucking drones do we have? Like, what are our quantities of that? You know what I
Like,
mean?
my best friend, his cousin, his job, it's hilarious actually. So he lives in California, right? And his job is he goes into his military job every day, gets on a drone somewhere in like Syria or something, blows up a fucking
Yeah, just
like
fucking
house or
drops the
two.
bomb on these
No,
fuckheads.
dude, I'm not joking. He literally, I swear to God, he's in like San Francisco, and he goes into his like job with the military, gets on his drone there, flies it over somewhere in Syria, bombs like two
Dude,
houses.
and he probably makes great money,
Great mate closes
great benefits, and
a,
gets to work from home.
closes. No, he goes to an office. He goes
Well,
to
I
his office,
know he goes to an office, but you know what I mean. Like he gets to work
but,
near, like
but
close to
he
where he
goes
wants to
in.
live.
He goes in. They give him targets. They bomb two houses. He closes his computer and goes home. Swear to God.
No, dude,
Just
I believe it. I fucking
kills like 8 people, and then he just like goes home. And he just every day.
well, and that's why I'm like, okay, like what kind of drones do we have? Like
Well,
tell me what we got.
the drones that they like the Predator drones, dude, they're pretty they're pretty a
But
lot.
but that we've got something better than that. I mean, that's like 10, 15 years ago.
But the fighter jets are they're out of commission
I know,
as
but the
the most
Predator
part.
drones, I mean,
It's
those are fucking
drones.
like old as shit. Like Obama was using Predator drones. I mean, that's at least 12 years.
Oh yeah, dude, I know.
Well, that's why I'm just kind of like, okay, like what have we done better than that? Like I'm not asking you, but like tell me what we've done better. Like give me some confidence on the US drone ability. And I feel like
Yeah,
we haven't
like
heard anything. And I feel like I don't know how to kind of interpret that.
Well, like, you know, these the way that it is like you said, like Obama was using Predator drones. So it's like fighter pilots are like kind of not necessary. Like, and that's where like we come back to AI. It's like eventually, it's like you don't have to send up fighter pilots to do 25 missions and then retire anymore. It's like you
Yeah.
could just we'll see some, but like you know. Then now, in doing that, if you're not careful, somebody can get a little handsy with the nuclear button, and then thermonuclear warfare, and then we're in nuclear winter and not eating anymore, and humanity will eventually cease to exist. But like,
I mean, that could happen.
I mean, I think humanity, will that there will be a very, very self-inflicted wound before like the sun explodes.
I think so.
At some point, like I said, someone gets handsy with that nuclear button. It's like we'll see what happens.
Yeah. All right, dude. Well, let's end it here.
Yeah.
How long have we been going?
About
About an hour. That's pretty good.
Can
Yeah.
you go ahead
And so
and stop
let's do what?
now? We stop recording and keep talking for a second.
Yeah. Go ahead.